Hi class, my name is Alexandra Berger. I go by Allie. I've been Allie since I was a baby, but either one is fine, either name. I'm a waitress at BJ's. It's a chain restaurant. I work around 4, 5, sometimes 6 days a week, depending on the needs of demand. My educational goals: within 2 years, I would love to become a second grade elementary school teacher. I loved elementary school myself, especially second grade. I have very fond memories, and I feel like I create a great foundation for my future students. I'm aimed to receive my bachelor's degree at FIU online with the major early childhood education by 2025. Why am I taking this course? There are two reasons why I enrolled in this course. One, it's a requirement for my major, but more importantly, number two, I want to learn more about ESOL principles and practices and how to implement these findings into my future classroom teaching. How will this course help me in my career? After reading the Module 1 PDFs, reading the chapters, I got it on my Kindle, the book, the chapter, and watching the video Florida Consent Decree, I realized that I myself have very little knowledge on this topic, and I feel as though access to this information will make me a better, well-adjusted teacher and educator in the future. So a couple of notes that I've taken after looking through the PDFs, watching the video, and reading the two chapters. Let's start with the Nieto article. Nieto, Nieto article. So I have a couple quotes that I want to relay that I feel like struck me because I just was not aware. So quote number 1 came from page 3. The increasing diversity in the nation is visible, especially in urban areas. Some people, however, may be surprised to learn that our nation's suburban and rural areas, and consequently the schools in those areas, are also increasingly diverse. Although it is true the white students continue to outnumber students of color and English language learners in rural areas, the margin is getting smaller. And I believe as a society, especially in the education system, we need to move forward and bring more inclusivity into the classroom. Page 4 quote, there are 5 million English language learners enrolled in grades pre-K through 12, about 10% of total public school enrollment, and nearly 80% of Spanish speaking. And this came from just 2010, his findings. I was shocked about that 80%, truly. And then I have two more quotes from the Nieto article. Quote from page 5. Although conventional wisdom used to be that cultural and language differences referred to despairingly as cultural baggage should be left outside the classroom door, more recently such thinking has been challenged. Children, especially young children, cannot be expected to do even what most adults cannot do. That is to adapt instantly and effortlessly to a new cultural milieu. Children are in effect placed in danger when their identities are overlooked or when they are invisible in the classroom setting. That last sentence came from page 6. It's true, I don't think that I don't like that word cultural baggage should be left out of the door. I think it should be embraced and brought into the classroom. Not saying every single piece of curriculum needs to include that cultural significance, but I do believe it should be brought in as a part of some of the curriculum so that students who are not native English speakers can learn easier and with more empathy around the classroom, if that makes sense. They don't feel invisible or alone that way. And the last quote from this article came from page 6. Rather than viewing students' identities as deficits, it is far more productive to consider them as assets. That is, instead of defining students who speak a native language other than English as non-English speakers, why not think of them as speakers of another language or as becoming bilingual? And I agree. I think that's it means the same thing in definition, but I think the implications and connotations are different. And I think the second one is a lot nicer. It's a nicer way of approaching it. Next is the Florida Consent Decree video. I was honestly shocked to see we start at Amendment 1, 1791, the U.S. Constitution guarantees freedom of speech, and then we move all the way, sorry, these are just some notes, all the way to 1990, the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, versus State Board of Education, United States Court of Southern District, Florida. So it took a lot of titles and a lot of acts in order for this main one to happen. And the decree, a judgment handed down by a judge of justice, it explains exactly what the problem is. The Florida Consent Decree, what I was very surprised about is no new rights are granted, meaning that the ones, for example, Castaneda versus Picker, 1981, Plyer versus Doe, Serna versus Portales, Title 6, those will be granted, but no further ones can be. It's ones that have already been enacted. So like Lau versus Nichols, 1974, California. That's crazy to me. Plyer versus Doe, 1982, Texas. And apparently the Florida schools education system was not following these laws and acts prior, but they must now. That's what I learned from the video. So I learned Public School 6 mandated areas that they must follow now moving forward, that apparently they weren't prior. Section 1, identification and assessment. Section 2, equal access to appropriate programming. Section 3, equal access to appropriate categorical and other programs for ELL students. Section 4, personnel. Section 5, monitoring issues. And Section 6, outcome measures. So that's just a couple of things from the video and the article. And after reading Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of Educating Emergent Bilinguals, the textbook, I got it on my Kindle. It's just a little easier to read that way. I have a couple of quotes to bring forward and relay because I found them important and as in this reflection video. So page 3, critics of the LEP label used formally by the federal government argued convincingly that it focuses on the student limitations rather than their potential, and LEP stands for Limited English Proficiency. I'm so sorry. So I just think it's not a very nice way of approaching those children. And another quote from page 4, English as a second language, ESL, refers to a subject and not to people, so it's not as connected. This label does not encompass students whom English is a third or fourth language, which is a very good point. Page 4, recently the term dual language learner, so DLL, has been increasingly used to refer to young learners under 8 years of age who are learning English in school while continuing basic proficiency in their home language, and this came from Williams, 2015. The issue with DLL is that it focuses on young children's students and excludes those who have been bilingual since birth, basically. Bilingual, multilingual learners is ultimately the best labels to use. The following statement from page 4 describes why. In quotes, identifying students as bilingual, multilingual learners does not focus on the needs of these students to learn English. Instead, it celebrates these students for their bilingual, multilingual capacities, end quote. And then the ultimate overall label and term that this textbook is saying that we should use moving forward is emergent bilingual, the preferred term. Chapter 2, page 9 states the following, in quotes, 1 out of 10 students in the United States is an emergent bilingual, accounting for 4,929,989 students. That is a ton of people and a ton of students that I was honestly very surprised to see that number, truly. And in the Kindle, you can like put notes in the Kindle, and it will tell you how many people put a note if it was over like 100 or a certain amount of people. I believe it was like over like 200 people noted that because it was so shocking, because they were so surprised to see that number, and I am myself, and we're not educated on that very much. So I just wanted to throw that in my reflection. Anyways, thank you so much for getting to know a little bit about me. Thank you for listening to my video, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I am excited to get to know everyone and for the summer semester. Bye, everyone. Thank you.